So, Ed, in 1965, you wrote a book that has sort of an interesting title, Organizational Psychology, which sort of summarized the field at that time. We're now 50 years later, exactly in 2015, as we sit here and chat. And I'm wondering, one of the themes that I detect in your article is sort of a comparison between what we knew then and what we know now. And I think in a lot of ways, you would probably acknowledge that we have moved forward, but in other ways, I think what have we really learned in the field? And I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit to your sense of to what extent have we had progress in sort of the areas of our field that you cover in your article?
I think what research showed way back from leadership research and so on is the same thing as what we're rediscovering. But there's a huge difference in how these things get applied. So it's not that the knowledge has changed so much as the form in which it's been applied has changed a lot.
Okay.
And that turns out to be because organizations have changed and society has changed. So the leadership issues, the organizational issues, how you structure things, is today a different set of problems. So a piece of knowledge like things work better when a boss involves his subordinates was already known in the 50s.
Right.
But the application of that in today's auto industry versus today's Google are so different that I think the struggle in the field is to keep figuring out how to apply what we know in the face of all kinds of organizational forces that work against the application. Because I think we're using maybe 20% of what we know because organizationally, bosses don't want to involve their subordinates. There are all kinds of cultural reasons why they prefer to stay autonomous. And so the knowledge and the application of knowledge is where I see less progress.
Yeah. And so what do you think is the barrier to sort of managers or to organizations as a whole? I think you kind of touch on kind of the McGregor work, theory X, theory Y a little bit, and kind of those mindsets that managers or organizations have about their people. But what's preventing that from occurring?
I think as I got more into the concept of culture, which I always was interested in, I began to see cultural forces at the national level, the occupational level, and at the organizational level as being the major counteraction to a lot of what we know about teams, about team building, about how to manage people. So you keep rediscovering that if there is an organization that does it by what we know from research, they really do better. But for that few organizations, there are 100 organizations that don't use the knowledge. And if you say, why not? Because there are other economic forces or social forces or personality factors that make those managers, those leaders, believe in a different set of theories. Management by fear. We know that doesn't work, but I keep encountering managers who say, well, that's the only way to do it because it works for them. So I think the whole field is kind of bifurcated by what we know versus what actually gets applied.